occasionally vomiting. Kelly was soon moved from the emergency room at Los Alamos Medical Center to a private one. He told those watching over him about the heavenly blue glow that filled the room, about the rumbling he heard inside of the vessel before he found himself twitching in the snow. Finally calmed down, his blood was taken around this time, and it was also radioactive. The light metals in his blood, like sodium, had been activated or transformed by radiation into radioactive material themselves. It was with his blood that the first whole-body dose estimate during the accident was made. For context, the average dose that leads to a 100% fatality is 5 grays, a unit of absorbed radiation. Kelly had endured much more than 5. Kelly was hit with an estimated 49 grays. According to his wife, Doris Kelly, who was present in his room at this time, Cecil knew that he was dying, and his doctors did too. 6 hours after the accident, all of the white blood cells in Cecil's body were gone. Doris Kelly and Cecil's brother waited at his bedside for hours. Cecil spoke with them quietly, asking Doris to take care of her 2 children, his 7-year-old daughter and an 18-month-old baby boy. He dozed off, he slept, he vomited. Nurses pumped him full of IV fluid. The next day, at 5 p.m., the doctors wanted to take a sample of bone marrow from Cecil's sternum to see if he might be a candidate for a bone marrow transplant, a new and exciting operation in the 1950s. The operation did not go well. After operating equipment was wheeled to his bedside and his chest was cleaned with alcohol, a surgeon made an incision in Cecil's chest and removed, quote, a good deal of material, end quote. But the material didn't look like a bone marrow biopsy. That was because the surgeon had missed Cecil's sternum entirely. So the surgeon tried again. And what he removed this time made Doris's stomach churn. She recalled later, quote, what they pulled out was slop. They pushed a syringe in his chest and pulled it out. It was just mush. End quote. Cecil's bone marrow, where red blood cells in the body are made, was watery, acellular, transformed. Mush. It wasn't bleeding like it should be. Obviously, a bone marrow transplant then was not going to help Cecil's chances. But his doctors already knew that. According to legal documents obtained by Doris and her daughter Katie during the discovery stage of the lawsuit that was to come decades later, the attending Los Alamos doctors had no actual intention of trying to save Cecil with a transplant. One doctor, Thomas Shipman, wrote later, quote, because of the size of the dose, it seemed obvious that he would die a central nervous system death, so we never seriously considered bone marrow transfusions. End quote. This was the first of many half-truths that would be told by the doctors and scientists at Los Alamos.
Do you look at gorgeous girls? And immediately you think to yourself, this girl is out of my league. She's unattainable. And the truth is, you know what? She is out of your league, but not for the reasons that you think. So let me explain. You see, if you're like most men, you might think incredibly hot women are out of your league because you're ugly, you are unattractive, you don't have $1 million in your bank account, you're too skinny, you're too fat, you're too old, or you're too whatever, you're not 6 feet tall, you don't have six-pack abs and bulging biceps, so on and so forth. And it's natural that you think that way. After all, thousands of movies, TV shows, ads, magazines, and so on have fed you the wrong ideas about what women want for years. But believe it or not, the real reason why most normal, everyday guys can't get those sexy, top-tier women is something completely different. Something that you'd never expect. Something no male dating expert and pickup guru is ever going to tell you about. The interesting part is, once you deal with that real issue, that one thing, all of those gorgeous, high-quality girls suddenly fall into your league. Meaning, all of a sudden, beautiful women will begin to take an interest in you. They'll be more excited to chat with you and go out with you. They'll flirt with you, and they'll be eager to date you and eventually sleep with you without you having to change anything about yourself. You see that simply putting yourself in front of the girl and being your natural, everyday self is more than enough to spark an attraction. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, all right, enough foreplay. What's this real issue, and how do I deal with it? Well, we can find out right now, because I've created a full free masterclass explaining exactly what the real issue is and how to fix it in just 60 days. So all you gotta do is click on the screen now to watch it. Watch the free masterclass. Did I mention it's free? This free masterclass just might change the way that you look at women and yourself forever. So watch it now, take notes, and you can thank me later.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really good, no, perfect words that make your writing sharp, or explicit, or excellent, or distinctive. As a matter of fact, for what it's worth, Grammarly can, yeah, that's long. We can get rid of that, and this, good, and this, or how about this? Grammarly helps you be concise. If your tone might make someone feel like this, Grammarly can remind you. It would help if you soften your tone. And if you need the support, Grammarly encourages you to write confidently. Because the better we all communicate, the better we connect. Grammarly, helping you connect. Go to Grammarly.com and download today.
As the Manhattan Project continued into the mid-1940s, it was obvious to leading scientists that radioactive elements like plutonium were uniquely dangerous research materials. They knew from the use of radionuclides in medical diagnostics, for example, that material left in the body could provide a long-term source of harmful radiation. But what they did not know was how the body dealt with these metals. How long would they remain in the body? Where? Would they be excreted in the urine or deposited in the bones? From these questions sprang the impetus to begin the human plutonium injection experiments. From 1945 to 1947, 18 people were unknowingly injected with plutonium by Manhattan Project doctors during unrelated medical procedures. None of these people knew that they were being injected with plutonium, but the doctors knew exactly what they were looking for. Results indicated that plutonium in the bloodstream preferred to stay in the skeleton, and for a long time. The element also accumulated in the liver, the kidneys, and spleen. Animal models of the same experiments showed mostly the same thing, but the results of these experiments came from plutonium injected into the bloodstream. The exposure that workers at Los Alamos would encounter would be from inhalation of airborne particles, and it was these workers that these experiments were ostensibly supposed to protect. And so at best, the known biokinetics of plutonium was indirect. The most direct way to validate early models, the best way to find out how plutonium entered and exited the body, would be to get actual tissue samples from actual humans. As a quick aside, if you want to know more about the obviously controversial plutonium injection experiments, I recommend The Plutonium Files by Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist Eileen Welsom, where much of the information in this video is covered in detail, and who will enter our story a bit later. Cecil Kelly would only live another 10 hours after his bone marrow was sampled. The pain in his chest became unmanageable even with medication, and he again thrashed against the restraints of his hospital bed. Soon, Cecil was breathing in a way that doctors described as frog-like. Breathing slowed to nothing after 15 minutes of this, and Cecil Kelly was pronounced dead at 3:15 a.m. on New Year's Day, 1959. Those who were en route to visit Cecil were notified and told to return home. One of those who were notified, Louis Hempelman, was the man who oversaw the medical care of both Harry Daghlian and Louis Slotin, the two physicists who also lost their lives after criticality accidents with the so-called Demon Corps, some 14 years before. Kelly had died exactly 34 hours and 45 minutes after a plutonium vortex in an improperly loaded vessel went critical. But his job wasn't done. Scientists had Cecil's body dragged by sled from the Los Alamos Medical Center through the snow back to the lab, and into a steel-lined